Hello, everybody, and welcome to Red Wings Daily, presented to you by FanArch. I'm your host, Kirk MckNight, lifelong Red Wings fan and author of The Voices of Hockey, Broadcasters Reflect on the Fastest Game on Earth, the book which is available on Audible or Apple Books in its updated audio edition. Coming to you from the southwest corner of Washington State, tucked away back here in the Pacific Northwest. Really good viewership yesterday, folks, so thank you. Also, a lot of comments on the comment board, so that led to plenty of viewership. So let's see if we can get that going on today. If you haven't subscribed to the channel, please do so. We saw a little bit of a jump, and I'm hoping for more of those. In fact, I'm hoping for more leaps and bounds over the next 5+ weeks before we lead into opening night against the Rangers. And my goal is to be at 2,000 subscribers. We're inching towards it, trickling towards it, I guess, and I'd rather be cascading towards it. So I'm going to try to give you the best content I can, and please engage each other in this message board. Somebody told me that maybe you don't ask for engagement in the message board. Why not? I would say, please feel free, feel welcome, say whatever you want to say. We'll have a lot of camaraderie, rivalry, or whatever it is. It leads to good theater, and also leads to people kind of tuning in to see what's going on with this team. We're going to talk today about a term that I am introducing called inception journalism. And what it basically means is, if you've ever seen the movie Inception, we have a dream within a dream within a dream, right? Well, we're having reporting, me being a reporter, reporting on a reporter, reporting on another reporter's reports, okay? Did you follow on that one? So it's like a 3-level kind of thing going on, because what I do sometimes is look up and see what the new news is and see who's reporting it. Sometimes those reporters are reporting on other reporters' reports. For example, today I am going to be bringing up Don Drysdale again, who is reporting on a report by Elliotte Friedman. Elliotte Friedman obviously is a very good source, and we like to refer to him a lot of times. He's one of the first people that was on ground zero when it came to the Larkin requesting a trade. And so obviously a very solid source. So starting on that, in this inception journalism. So Friedman was talking about the GM search and the candidates that kind of have come out, and as far as who the Red Wings are looking at and stuff like that. So we obviously are very curious to know that. He started with the internal ones we pretty much already knew were going to be interviewees, right? Sean Horkoff and Chris Draper. Those are inside the organization. We already kind of figured, yeah, that's happening. So outside, we're starting to think, and there's starting to be a couple of new participants at the table, if you will. So one of them is Florida Panthers assistant GM Brett Peterson. This one I want to talk about a little bit more than the other. But we also say Sharks assistant GM Jeff Kilty. Now, I'll just start off with Jeff Kilty first to just say that he just got hired as the assistant GM over in San Jose last month. So practically, is that a practical thing to change from being from Nashville for 2 decades, move over to San Jose, and then basically 1 month later go somewhere else? I don't know if that's necessarily going to happen. Yes, it is a great opportunity to jump from being an assistant GM in San Jose, which is becoming a solid team. They're building right now, and they are going to have a pretty good future with what they're looking at right now. People are going to be talking about the Sharks here over the next few years. I pretty much can guarantee that. You're building around a player like Macklin Celebrini, but you're also bringing in other veterans, and you're bringing other people. They brought over Trouba. That's another one. Just players are getting attracted and coming over here. So being at that ground level for that, or moving to Hockey Town, where it all takes place, and being a little bit higher of a position, obviously, a much higher of a position, I guess you'd say, from assistant GM to GM. And do we do that, right? Does he go from being an organization that's looking to build, that's spending the money, to getting a higher up advancement and a higher ranking in a team that's not doing that? So I kind of feel like Jeff Kilty, probably out of the logistics of it, just having moved and everything like that, I don't see that as something that's happening anytime soon, but I could be wrong. But going back to Brett Peterson, one of the things is Brett Peterson, Friedman reported, has a background in player evaluation, contract negotiation, and experience as a player agent. And over there in Florida, we've seen what they've been able to do, and he's been the assistant GM over there. 3 straight appearances in the Stanley Cup final over the last 4 years, right? They didn't make the playoffs last year, but 3 straight Stanley Cup final appearances, and 2 cups. So obviously that on your resume is at the very top of it, and it's fairly recent when you think about it, just a year lag in between. But you see what also Florida has done in this offseason. So you see that he is very much alive with all the moves that they're doing over there with the general manager in Florida, making plenty of headlines and all kinds of things like that. So Peterson may be somebody that I would be very interested in, because it seems like Peterson and Florida are one of those organizations that has that turnkey. That's the firm that's the analytics firm that's kind of heading this whole search. They have that kind of thought. That's the way they're doing things is according to turnkey. So if Peterson is a product of that, we probably are looking for that in our upper management. And maybe he thinks, I've been here for 2 cups. What really gravy can I put on this meal? Maybe move over to that market, that original 6 market, and see what happens. And then the other candidate, just to kind of wrap this up as far as the potential, is one we've already talked about, and that's Jeff Greenberg, the GM of the Tigers. So staying inside Detroit. We have a couple of candidates that were inside the organization of the Red Wings. Now we have another candidate inside the city itself. But I would say of all these, Peterson would be the one that's piqued my interest the most. So we'll return to a little bit more Inception journalism in just a second, but I want to do a little fan mail. And the Family Man's 2545 brought something up that we have spoken about a little bit on this show in the past, and others have reported on. So basically what the Family Man's 2545 stated in yesterday's show on the message board said, Larkin might be showing true leadership by forcing the organization to make a real commitment to a direction. Steve never shared a plan. Heck, he seemed to swing multiple directions throughout any of the last 3 seasons. If the team gets organized and makes moves forward, hope the haters remember he put his career on the line for the team's future. There was a report that a few weeks back, and we talked about it, where Larkin's actions right now may have maybe like burning some embers and maybe some kindling or something for a fire that may be happening a couple of years from now when the NHLPA meets again. Possible lockout, those kinds of things are always in discussion. And if there is a lockout and if there is some kind of decision that has to be made, yay or nay, people may point back to Larkin and what he's doing right now. So Larkin may, in effect, become a hero for the players by his actions right now. Obviously, as fans, we're a little upset with him, but I think maybe the players, even his teammates right now, who may be just, a little upset and a little peeved at him. We probably are maybe divided locker room right now on who respects him for what he's doing and who probably just doesn't want him to be around anymore. Who knows? But overall, as a player, as somebody who is going to be coming up with contract negotiations, if these actions do something that will turn the tide as far as the way players are listened to or dealt with, and it's for the benefit of the players, yes, he may become a hero. He may become a hero for this organization long after leaving it. What he's saying, management might actually change their tune and start listening more and start being more involved and spending more money or whatever needs to happen to have that dynamic from owner to GM down to the players. That may be as well. So good point that you made there, Family Man's 2545. I think that some sentiment like that has been shared elsewhere and reported on elsewhere. So going back to our Inception journalism, we'll do the T now. And so another report on Friedman. Now this one was from, this was Yahoo Sports, Richard Knight. So this is all from Friedman's 32 Thoughts podcast, right? So Friedman in the podcast said, initially I thought that maybe Yzerman resigned. I don't believe that's the case. I believe the Red Wings made the choice to move on. So Knight, reporting on Friedman's reporting, stated, the difference between an executive choosing to step aside and ownership deciding to replace him says something about how Ilitch voiced the direction of the franchise, or viewed the direction of the franchise. Smith or Knight also reported, putting a franchise icon into an advisory position while hiring his replacement can create an awkward arrangement if the new executive is expected to operate underneath the shadow of the former one. And then Freeman's reporting suggests that Yzerman's continued presence should not prevent Detroit's next executive firm from making important decisions. Or next executive from making reporting important decisions. I don't think the GM's going to be a firm, but yeah, like they said. So I like all this input because it's like they say, him not stepping down, possibly him being forced out. Was he pushed? Was he stepping down or was he pushed? That's kind of becoming the question. And if the answer to that is more along the lines of he didn't step down, but maybe the organization leaned on him to be elsewhere, that's some tea, folks. I mean, that's something we really need to register and really kind of soak into ourselves and say, like, what is the dynamic? Obviously, a lot of people right now are blaming and are upset with Chris Ilitch for the lack of spending, for the lack of movement, for the lack of strengthening and bolstering this team. This is a city that's used to 25 straight years of playoff appearances, a dynasty, 4 cups over 11 season span, right? 3 cups over a 6-season span. These are the kinds of things that are dynasty. And when it goes from that to having no playoffs for 10 years, it's different in Buffalo. Buffalo has never won a Stanley Cup, and they went 15 years without a playoff appearance. And that's a very solid and faithful fan market over there in Buffalo. And they stick with their team. Here they are winning the division after 15 years of no playoffs. Here's a team that's used to and has the second most Stanley Cups in the NHL as far as a franchise's history. And, over this century has seen a dynasty and now seeing 10 straight years of nothing playoff wise, but also seeing a salary cap salary cap space that is more than any other team in the NHL. Those kinds of things are writing all over a wall. They're graffiti on the wall in thick block letters. Okay, so a lot of people are upset with Ilitch, and I think that if that is the situation, and they see more that Yzerman was more pushed out rather than just stepping down voluntarily, I think the comments and the enrage or the rage and people being enraged towards Ilitch are just going to continue more and more, and the criticism is going to continue as well, because this is over 2 organizations in Detroit, folks. We're not just talking about the Red Wings. We're talking about the Tigers too. There's a lot of Tigers fans out there probably tuning in right now that are upset with the way things are being handled in Detroit. Skubal going to the Dodgers, all these other things. So this is multiple, right? And there's a lot of money being spent on the Tigers and not hardly any money being spent on the Red Wings as far as the NHL standards go. So I definitely think that there's some weight to what Friedman says about what that says as far as the organization, as far as the movements go, showing their hand really at the table. And I think that a lot of us are not very pleased with that. And maybe we may back off a little bit on how we view Yzerman. I still feel like over these 7 years, having not shown any kind of playoff appearances, you're not off the hook for that, Stevie Y. But I also do see maybe a little why this situation is going on and you're stepping out or stepping down, possibly being pushed down. We will end today's show just by talking about one of our prospects. This is Luka Arko. He was drafted in the 6th round, right? Basically, I think he was picked number 175 or 195, one of those. So 6'3". He's 18 years old. He's playing he's going to be coming up and playing with Erie in the OHL with the Otters. So looking at his sheet, Arko shines through intelligent forechecking and smart passing distribution from down low and in transition. With that comes an inside-driven mentality, taking pucks to the net every time he sees a potential opening. Folks, I just want to say this right now. We got an 18-year-old right here. This is one of those players that we may obviously fast-track. Yes, he was our 6th-round pick, but so was Datsuk. Let's think about that. Doing a little bit of research and watching a little video. Datsuk, one of the greatest players and obviously one of the greatest players in this franchise history, but obviously one of the most explosive and just dynamite players in NHL history. Let's just put it that way. And anybody who wants to argue against that should watch the tape and watch the way that this guy handled the game. Now, I'm not saying this guy's the next Datsuk, but I'm saying let us not discount somebody who we drafted in the 6th round. He may be a next Datsuk. He's 18 years old, and he may be flying and coasting through the ice and doing all these things and just giving us reminders of what it was like to have a player come up in the system so young and just really explode onto the scene. So if this is one of those players that we don't want to sit there and have simmer in the pot in the lower leagues, in the OHL, in the AHL, maybe we see what he does early with the Otters, advance him possibly to the Griffins quick enough, and if it needs be, and we're trying to have some kind of dynamic and some kind of shot in the arm late in the season, throw him up to the major level as a 19-year-old or whatever and see what we can do and take those training wheels off and let him loose. I mean, these are the hopes that we have when we see players like this. An 18-year-old who, size is great. 6'3", that's a good size. So if he's a fast enough skater and can move around the puck and handle it well and skate well with that size, he's going to be somebody that we're going to want to keep an eye on. And if we want to pull that trigger, not to say too soon, just pull that trigger sooner than we have been. Let's just put it that way. Folks, just wanted to do my little tribute. Yesterday, after the show aired, Dolly Parton passed away. And I think that it is more, it's appropriate, especially we've been talking about our 9-to-5s. We've been talking about just, going to work, all our things. Today is hump day. So hump day reminds us of a work week, right? Wednesday reminds us that we are, over that hump on our 9-to-5. And who doesn't think of Dolly Parton when the term 9-to-5 comes up? I know that I do. Tremble out of bed and I stumble to the kitchen, pour myself a cup of ambition and yawn and stretch and try to come to life. Jump in the shower and the blood starts pumping. Out on the street, the traffic's jumping with folks like me on the job from 9 to 5. As somebody who's going to go to their 9 to 5 today and do all the other things and take their liquid ambition, cup of ambition, and really just sit there and, just dream to watch him shatter. You're just a step on the boss man's ladder, but you got dreams he'll never take away. You're in the same boat with a lot of your friends, walking for the day your ship will come in, and the tide's going to turn, and it's all going to roll your way. Just more and more lyrics of the great Dolly Parton. So as a thank you to Dolly Parton for all you've done, it's not just this song, Islands in the Stream, Jolene, all the things that we know, but also that's on the music perspective. And I'm a huge fan of music. I'm a musician for almost 4 decades. And I will say that it was long and past that. Steel Magnolias, all the things that we know Dolly Parton for, all the things she's contributed to. The movie Rhinestone, Sylvester Stallone and Dolly Parton in Rhinestone. I know some of you may be scratching your head at that and do remember it, but I want to pay tribute to Dolly and all the presence that she has been in my life, but also everyone else's lives. So here's to you, Dolly, R.I.P. Won't ever and have never thought of the term 9 to 5 because when that song came out, I wasn't working in 9 to 5. I was a little kid. So 9 to 5 applies to me, and I think of that keyboard, that little piano on the deep level, just doodle 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 doodle, right? So you are what created that, and you are what brought that into our lives as we work our 9 to 5 and remind ourselves with those lyrics how we get through our day and what we're actually doing. And it's because of you that we listen to it and just try to get a little bit of better attitude as we go about. So thank you, Dolly, and R.I.P. This has been Red Wings Daily, folks, presented to you by Fan Arch. I'm your host, Kirk MckNight, and LGRW from the PNW.